Hello, beautiful people. I'm Mariquita Solis, a vegan empowerment coach, plant based, loving life, female warrior. And I'm here with another female warrior, Angela Fischetti. And I'm so excited that she's here to bring her wisdom of health, healing, and prosperity to us. And I know a lot of us might feel down about our health and you start to go into those loops of
Mm.
despair. And Angela's here to bring us out of that and to know that at any age we can move forward. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Angela. People, please, beautiful people, let us know who's watching and give StreamYard permission to use your name. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And
Mhm.
Angela's going to give details afterwards how you can subscribe to all of her channels and all of her pages. But welcome, Angela, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Mariquita. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I love what you were saying about power and warrior.
That's what we are, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm empowering in the physical. I mean, in the mental, and you're empowering in the physical. And I can see it. Look at your arm. I mean, look at those muscles. Even with that arm, show us your arm.
Oh, my
The other
arm,
one.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
there we
arm.
go.
Even with that arm, you're going strong.
Well, I'm still working out, and it was interesting figuring out how to work out without putting anything in this hand. I can't hold anything, but I'm figuring it out, and it's actually a lot of fun figuring out. It just takes a super long time because it's one arm at a time, but so be it.
Yeah, so be it, right? You're going to get
Absolutely.
through the challenges. So,
Absolutely.
so tell the beautiful listeners and viewers, tell us about who you are and what you do, please.
Well, I am, as far as what I do, I work as a licensed massage therapist. For the moment, I'm on hiatus. and, but my work typically focuses on Swedish massage and deep tissue. And I'm the type of massage therapist who likes to jump on the table with with the client and stretch them, etc. And also, I do virtually. Obviously, the massage work is done on site. And I also am certified in geriatric massage. And I work with people, let's say, with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, etc. And I do also do palliative care massage, which means I'm involved with the family the last couple of weeks of their loved one's life and helping them in their process of letting go through massage. And these massages are typically done not on a table. They're done either like in a home hospital bed or in a reclining chair because it's very sensitive work. I also do virtually older adult personal training and also hatha and prenatal yoga. So the opposite end of the spectrum. But most of my work is with those who are 55 and up. And I would say that primarily it's in the 70s and 80s, some 90s as well. And I have been doing this. I'm 64 myself and have been doing this now for 34 years and working with this demographic.
That's amazing. I mean, I would, most people might think just like I would think, well, once you're in the hospital bed, forget it. It's too late now. What can you, but you're saying that that there's ways to work around that. And I love that. And I think, my gosh, people that are coming to the end of their life. I mean, who could benefit more than that? It's such a healing and it's like a hospice situation.
Right, and that's why it's palliative care because at that point everyone knows it's the time for transition, right? So we're not pretending to build strength or gain flexibility or anything like that. It's just to help ease the physical process, and with the permission of the family, I typically like to play like Sanskrit music because Sanskrit resonates at a high frequency and is considered to be a very healing language. It's an ancient Indo European language. So I like to play that type of music or just even what you would call New Age music. And I work with a very delicate balance of really excellent quality essential oils. It's just to help ease my client into the process of letting go. That's all it is. And it's half an hour at best, the sessions, and but it's a very emotional process, but as the practitioner, I need to keep a check on that emotion because it's not about me. However, there's no way for me not to be affected and touched by it. And this I know the client is resonating with, because typically the client is somebody who has been my client during days of being vibrant and now no longer are, you know. And but yet I have worked with people literally in their beds. Um, I had an amazing journey with a client of mine who was a doctor, and he had Alzheimer's. I mean, pardon me, no, he had Parkinson's, and I worked with him from stage 1 to stage 4. And it was stage 1. Well, I had him in the gym, and we were working out in the gym. And as we got closer to stage 3 is when we transitioned to his home, and we had equipment there and bands and tubing and free weights, and then eventually I worked him in his bed because with when you get to stage 4 with Parkinsonians, they go into what's called Parkinsonian downer. And so that's when they'll be with you and having a conversation with you like this, and then all of a sudden they're there with you, they hear you, but they're elsewhere. They're gone somewhere. And I used to call him the doc. That was my nickname. And we used to talk about what it was like for him to be in awareness with me, but in a Parkinsonian downer. And it was, it's kind of like he's there, but everything's muffled and everything's on slow motion. So I would ask, Doc, do you want to continue on? But you're going to have to be in the bed. And and his aide would help escort him into the bed. And and I would be on the bed with him, working with him. And one time the maid was there and she saw me working on the bed. Meanwhile, his wife is in the other room. You got to find the humor in some of this stuff, all right? And his wife is in the other room. So the maid goes in, and I hear the wife cracking up loud. And she comes in and goes to me, "She ratted you out." She said, "She's in bed with him. She's in bed with him." And she's like, she does it all the time. She's in the bed with him. So, it's those moments. You remember those moments. And that had to be 15 years ago, Mariquita. So anyhow, but it was his way of associating some kind of movement with power, within his control. And that's a big deal for people as we age, and particularly for older. It's a big deal to have that sense of hope and that sense of control and that sense of being able to make a decision for themselves.
Wow. And that's so true. And I love this story. It's beautiful because it's such a welcoming process of the next part of existence, or
Hmm.
transitioning, right? And
Hmm.
I think about that as I volunteered in hospice, and it was
Mm.
beautiful to have those times with the people that I went to see, and acceptance, and even with my little dog who passed a couple of months ago, I would tell him, when it's your time, please go. I wanted him to
That's right.
feel peaceful, and that's what
That's
you're
right.
doing in this transitioning period, really helping them along. And that's so beautiful. I never heard of this. So
Thank you for that. It's just an extension of my work that's been for so long, and participating and sharing in the lives of these many seniors. Okay, I know they're politically incorrect words, but I'm one, and I'm not afraid to use it. So I'm going to speak like that to hopefully not offend anybody at all. These are just the words that I use, but my intention is from the deepest place of respect and honor. And the one thing I say is, to this day, who inspires me in my work to continue on with my self care and my self improvement and my finding my own solutions to my health, are my clients.
Mm,
I deal with people with cancer, people having operations to have body parts removed, and diabetes, and like I said, Parkinson's, and osteoporosis, and rheumatoid arthritis, and paralysis. The list goes on, right? But I'm telling you something. The one thing they all have in common is they don't take an out. They
mm.
don't take it out, because when you've got something on the line with your health, and that and understand the power of exercise, movement, yoga, whatever it is that you do physically, tai chi, when you get this, you own it, you claim it, and you don't want to let that part go so quickly, right? Because therein lies a lot of integrity for the self. And I think that in today's society, in today's day and age, we blame aging for a lot of stuff. I mean, it's kind of unfair, because a lot of it stems from lifestyle choices, right? And I know for myself that my own healing journeys, I had to get my head on straight about my own healing journey. And I had to come to terms with, you were eating crap, Angela. You were not doing the thing that that you've been teaching for 30 something years. You got to get on board. And that's it. That's what it's about. So it doesn't matter what the condition is. It doesn't matter the age. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter the age. I have a client of mine that was a massage client for geriatric massage, right? She's 89. Well, guess what? I said to her, you have a choice. You can wait the X amount of months for this thing to come off, or we can get you training. She's got an apartment full of exercise equipment. I mean, full of it. And I'm going, what are we doing here? How about we get you stronger? I spoke with her daughter. Her daughter was like, do it, do it. So now she's lifting weights with me. She's doing some yoga with me. She's 89. She's not taking the out.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right, because I wanted to ask you about this exactly this thing that we are brainwashed by society to think that when we get older that we're going to get sick and we're going to have to take drugs and that's it. Take this for the rest of your life and that's it. And then the doctors are not, well, because they haven't received the background in nutrition, they don't pass
right,
that on. They just pass
right.
on, here, let me fill a prescription. And so, what would you say about that? I mean, gosh,
Well,
it's very depressing.
I do want to say one thing in fairness to some doctors, because I've
Uh,
certainly had my fair share of those who believe what you do. I mean, they wanted to remove my body parts, what have you. And that's like an MO for me. I'm going to have a t shirt made. I'm keeping my body parts. But this said, it's interesting to see the dynamic change, particularly amongst female physicians, and how they embrace other modalities within their own daily life. All right. They may not be espousing whole food, plant exclusive food, plant based food, but they're certainly living a lifestyle that's different from the old fashioned way of looking at it. So, I have clients who are doctors and who are embracing exercise, who are, one became an acupuncturist as well. All right, who are embracing yoga, who are doing Pilates, who are eating more plants because of who. I have to admit a little bit because of my influence, and this excites me. And so this is why I found that in my own medical journey, I needed to let go of some doctors who were in that sort of mode of thinking a little patriarchal about it all. We'll remove the body parts because, hey, you don't need your uterus, you don't need your ovaries. Instead of, let's see what we can do. So I found doctors and specialists who are in the medical community who are like, no, we'll wait. Do what you got to do. They waited. And so I got them all intact. I got my body parts intact. So yeah, but it's very disconcerting. I will share with you that when I had gotten some diagnoses, um, I had gotten diagnoses of amongst many diagnoses, I will say, but I had gotten diagnoses of ovarian cysts and enlarged, thickened uterine lining. And for 2 weeks straight, and including weekends, Sylvester Cancer Center called me 5 to 6 times a week to schedule an operation. And I got to the point where I stopped picking up. I stopped with any return of calls because this wasn't founded in my reality. And in fact, when I brought it up to my gynecologist, the new one, she's like, "Are you kidding?" She said, I said, "Are you going to back me up for no surgery?" And she said, "Absolutely." She said, "The studies show now that your type of cysts don't need surgery." And it just so happens that because of my own protocols, because what I will call the diet and the lifestyle of the diet and all the alternative modalities I embraced, well, my body shed a small orange sized cyst off of my right ovary. My body shed that thickened uterine lining that is one of the causes for uterine cancer, not the only one. I reversed osteoporosis to age appropriate osteopenia. And let me tell you something, there's a marked difference between the two diagnoses because this, I'm trying to see which way the camera is, this would not have resulted the way it has. I do not need surgery. And I did refer to 3 surgeons, hand surgeons. And if I were osteoporotic, there's no question I would have either had to have had surgery or dealt with shattered bone, just completely shattered. And I also had a diagnosis of subclinical hypothyroid, and yet I watched my doctor write down no longer hypothyroid. So these are big deal. I have other masses in my body, but I also had 3 high cancer markers, all normalized. I had the worst blood work you could have imagined. I was a vegan's nightmare come true for blood work. Low B12, high homocysteine, low D3, low protein, low calcium, and all of it not only normal, but in excellent, excellent ranges. And I even had my C reactive protein done to see what the inflammation level is in the body because, Mariquita, I still have 7 masses in my body, but every one of them is benign.
Mm.
And I say that to you thinking I still have them. I haven't had scans in almost 2 years because of the pandemic, but also because I got affected financially by the pandemic and I can't afford the scans right now. But I've been pain free since August of 2020, where I was in horrific pain. I mean, it was horrific. And it's all from the diet and lifestyle. I'm not afraid to live with these 7 masses. Heck, Chris Carr lives with stage 4 rare cancer diagnosis. I forget which one she has. She has a vibrant, full life. And she's been like this now for close to 20 years. What am I afraid of? She can
Wow.
do it. I got them. And I'm just like, dudes, you're here temporarily, but I'm tolerating you in the meantime. And we're going to make this, kind of like a friendship because I need this to stay cancer free. And that's exactly what it is. And every one of my specialists, endocrinologist, gynecologist, gastroenterologist, every one of them is like, no idea what you're doing. However, you created a protocol, which means I have to continue that protocol every day. And it's 4 to 7 hours a day. I have to continue it because I don't know what piece of the protocol is more important than the other. So I just look at it all and go, it's all doable. My life is very simple. I live alone with my beautiful cat, and I work for myself. I'm hoping to get more work, obviously, and life goes on. I don't let this stop me. You know, uh, why would I? People who don't have limbs are doing remarkable things with their lives. Why wouldn't I? And this is the one thing that I hope that my clients can take from me is don't just sit back and go, there's nothing else that can be done. Do your own research, do investigation, make sure it's backed up by some kind of science. And if there is enough, what's the word, anecdotal proof for you, if there's enough, because I'm just an anecdotal person here, right?
Uh-huh.
But I have 30 years of it, and I have diagnoses that go back 34 years that I was medicated for 25, 28 years for manic depression. That's what
Wow.
it was called back then. And I'm telling you, I was on many a drug, psychotropic drug, and that's part of my issues. I was on lithium, and lithium created, and I was told by my endocrinologist, we know all these years later that lithium brings on thyroid nodules. Well, I have 2 of them, and I have a 3rd enlarged lymph node in my neck and, in the throat, and, that's a possibility it's related to that medication too. And the other masses are mostly endocrine related. So, does the possibility exist that that medication or the category of medication possibly have contributed to this? My endocrinologist went like this. She couldn't answer it, but she couldn't say no. And so I looked at that, and these years later, Mariquita, I did something I would not recommend other people to, but it comes from an internal sense of knowing what's right for myself because of years of exercise and taking care of myself. I feel like I can be in touch with that part of me, that inner voice, even more. To I I did something that people shouldn't do. I weaned myself off of that medication. It was a big deal. I was in withdrawals, and it was a 2.5 year process. But
Wow.
I'm drug free now, like 5 years. I'm completely living my whole food plant exclusive lifestyle. I'm very much involved with Chef AJ and her platform, and she does Sophist free, which for me, I was a food addict. I was diagnosed with anorexia, bulimorexia. Back then, they called abusive exercise. I binged, purged. I took Epicac. I put myself in a rehab, but I put myself in this was 32 years ago. I put myself in a rehab that was out in Arizona, and it was a Kundalini yoga based rehab. But it was run by MDs and RNs who were all yoga Sikhs. And Kundalini yoga is its own style of yoga. It's not the typical hatha yoga. And it's yoga that I believe as a licensed massage therapist, now looking back on that, that they target the endocrine system. And we wring out those glands, because when you're an addict, my thing was junk food, and other people were there for all kinds of addictions. And
Mm.
I learned then about the power of food. I was put on a vegan/vegetarian diet. We had no medications. We were put on personalized herbal protocols. We had to do 2 to 3 Kundalini yoga classes a day in a barn in the heat of Arizona, Tucson, or Phoenix. I always forget. And we also had to do some private therapy. That's when I got introduced to massage therapy, truly for what it is, therapeutic. And that's when I got introduced to using yoga. I don't care what type of yoga it is, though I practice and teach hatha yoga now, but being introduced to the power of that and what that did for me. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't without relapse since then. I was. Dr. Jen Hawk talks about when you have recovery, there are going to be several relapses, and there were. But I'm grateful I'm not there anymore. That type of food is nowhere near me. I don't seek it. It's not in my home. Um, and between clean food and diligent exercise, yoga for wellness, calming, quieting, um, I can say that I'm loving life. I love how I feel, and I'm just hoping that I could pass along the message to people that the more you learn about health and other approaches, I'm not telling people not to take medications. Please don't misunderstand that. All right. It's just that it wasn't working for me because of my background as an insomniac since I'm 4 years old. Those medications were meant to help me. They made everything worse. It just is. That's just what the outcome was for me.
Wow.
So I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah, and that's funny because I've heard a lot of people with insomnia and having issues and then being prescribed things that are keeping them awake and all sorts of, oh my gosh, the side effects are terrible with these
Yeah.
medications,
Yes, I
and
can tell you one of them that I went through. I went back to school when I was 57 for massage therapy, and I went for 2 years. And I had just started like that process of weaning off. And, but I started hearing voices,
oh,
and I could have sworn I was schizophrenic. So while I was in school, by the way, I graduated valedictorian, and it meant a lot to me. That school required a 20-page paper that you had to defend. It was the only school in Florida that required that of their massage therapy program. And but I was hearing voices, and it was a colleague of mine in school, in class, and she brought it up to me and said to me, "You ever think it was those medications that you were on that you're dealing with, coming off of them?" And boy, did that make sense. But what they didn't have back in 1992 when I went on these meds was Dr. Google. So I went on to Google and I started investigating these medications that I was on, and there it was. Wow. It's one of the side effects. And so I kind of felt better about that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. And let me tell you, the cleaner the food got and the more exercise I did, I haven't had that issue since that was 2016. I have not had that since 2017.
wow, that's amazing. I
It
mean,
is amazing.
it's amazing. I mean, the pain, how your pain is gone completely, right?
Oh, the physical pain was incredible because you remember Hurricane Irma, right?
Mhm.
And that's just as I was at the tail end of school. So it was 2017. And I had to evacuate with my two cats because South Beach was going to be the eye. That's what we were told. So I try to pack up my tiny little. This space is small, but it's mine, and I love it. And but I packed her up, and I was praying I'd have something to go home to because I was told I won't have a home to go back to. And the night before we evacuated, I fell to the floor in pain. I mean, writhing pain, like somebody took I don't know what that thing is called for a fireplace to poke the
Oh,
coals. All right, it's like you took that thing and put that in my lower left side of my abdomen.
oh,
And after several months of this, because I was determined to graduate, I was determined to be valedictorian, and I was determined to get my license. And I wasn't going to any doctor until that was all over. That was stupid. It's just stupid. I was in pain, serious pain. But that's where my head was. I had to get that work done, and I did. And then I did go to the doctors as I promised myself. And that's when all these diagnoses came at me: tumor in my liver. Um, that was three. That was two ovarian cysts the size of a grapefruit on the left. That's five. I told you about the one on the right. That's six. I also had a very dense breast tissue on my left breast. That's gone. That's my gynecologist. She told me it's all normal tissue. So it's every, you can get presented with stuff and you can collapse and fall to pieces, and that's okay too. But then, dear God, you're going to have to pick yourself up and figure out how to. And for me, that connective thread all along was exercise. I became vegetarian in 87 after I read John Robbins' book, and then vegan in 1990. But every time I had a major emotional upheaval, a major death, um, my divorce, that type of thing, um, I went back to vegetarian, which meant cheese. And we all know
Uh-huh.
cheese is a pleasure trap food, right? Salt, oil, and sugar. But now, since I've been sophus free since 2018. Certainly went back to vegan prior to that. I was even, believe it or not, I was even raw vegan for 1 decade of my life, 2 5-year runs, just raw vegan. But when presented with something emotional, and if I had the crap around the house, that's when I would go for it. My very best friend here passed in 2014, and her process with a rare, it was mucosal melanoma, very rare melanoma. It was a 4-year process. I gained 42 pounds, and I just all on vegetarian or junk food vegan, you know, and um, and then when I got my own diagnoses and stuff, I was like, yo, you're going to get back on track. And it was like this, you know. And also having watched her in her process, I, I didn't want that approach for myself. God bless her, you know. So you have enough to shake you up. You have the why. I have the why. I found my why to make me cry. I went vegan. I went vegetarian for ethical reasons. Vegan. I don't remember my vegan anniversary. I'm a bad vegan. I don't know. A lot of people remember it. I don't remember it. I had a lot going on, and so. But the point is I got the message really early on, and then it became as I got older, my health made me continue to stay in it, right? And then, but now that I've been in it from the perspective of ethical health, I realize how much this affects our beautiful planet, our Mother Earth at this point. So you see, I get that. What is it, like a triad or something of the power of why being whole food I like to say exclusive, um, is so important. It just it's it resonates far and wide, and it wreaks compassion for all involved. So
Yes, you're exactly right. And I love what you're saying is that you've lived in alignment with what you believe and how we're all connected, right? I mean, the fact that it's something with 630 something gallons of water to produce one hamburger is shocking.
it
And all
is
that water could be given to plants and vegetables and fruits for us to consume. We don't have to live like this. And it's
right.
just an amazing impact that we don't even know that we're having if we're consuming meat. So, I mean, it's not just about the animals. It's not just about our health, and it's not just about the planet. It's we're all connected, and we've
Yeah,
got to take responsibility, right? And I love what you're saying with the how you overcame that pain and all those drugs. And what about the, I mean, a lot of people don't even
thank
know
you.
how dairy causes. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm celebrating you. Um, how dairy causes inflammation in our
Woo!
bodies. Can you
Yeah,
talk about that? I'd love to hear about that.
well, I mean, okay, let me give you an example. We now know that young girls are getting their menses, right? We're 6, 8 years old, right? Now, what do you attribute that to? It's food. It's the food, and it's the dairy involvement. And so what's happening here is we're taking in milk meant for a whole nother species. It's not only milk, it's so contaminated with what they do to these poor animals, and the growth hormones, and I don't know all the names for the different chemicals involved, all right? But I do know that this is one massive endocrine hormone disruptor, and I can tell you that even back when I was young, now I'm 64. We're talking 54 years ago. I got my first period when I was 10, which was unheard of back then. I was already fully developed. I was already the height I was at the time. I mean, it's like 5'7" and whatever. Why? Because I'm American Italian. And what do you think is the biggest staple on our plate? The continual staple is cheese. is dairy. I don't care if you're sprinkling it, Parmesan, mozzarella slices. Well, I didn't just eat a little cheese. It was like a massive cheese sandwich, and it's like you get a pizza and, extra cheese, And so I wonder why at 10 I had my period. I wonder why at 10 until God knows how long it took that I had excruciating periods up until I went vegetarian. And when I would bring that cheese back in, my periods were painful again, and the clotting and all of that. So what is this? This is the residue. This is the junk coming from what is given to our poor, beautiful cows and what we're forcing them down their gullets to eat and drink because to make more gallons of milk to produce when to keep them lactating all year round, constantly lactated. This is abnormal. We're working against Mother Nature in this case. We're working against science. It's like we hire those biochemists who come in and screw around with they know what triggers our brain, right? The same way the tobacco companies knew what triggers our brain. So what did Big Dairy do? They just copied, big to the tobacco industry, and they carry on with the same thing. So because of all of that in my past, and then where I connect with endo disruptors now is because with all my gorgeous, beautiful produce that I eat, everything is put in plastics. They're all stored in plastics. And because the masses in my body were and are associated mostly with my endocrine system, I do an infrared sauna 6 to 7 times a week because it is known that infrared sauna pulls out the plastics, will pull out metals, and these of course heavy metals. These of course are endocrine disruptors. This is why I do it, and apparently it's working for me because, like I said, 3 cancer markers were out of here.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And yeah, we don't think about how much plastic is going into our bodies. I mean,
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't get anything from any of the stores I go into that just it's not packed in plastic. And it's not like I live in some small rural town. I live in Miami Beach.
mm,
What what is that about?
you,
So
yeah, I mean, being by the beach, that they would really be working on the
yeah,
plastic for the oceans. My gosh.
I know there's very little respect for the environment down here. Although we do have a couple of I noticed some localized groupings and gatherings going on to come onto my beautiful beach and clean it up. And I mean, in the heat of the sun, and it's just it is remarkable what they're doing. But yeah, it's unfortunate. There's very little attention paid to the environment in Miami Beach, which is why people come here is for the environment. They're not coming here to hang out inside.
Right.
They might do some of that clubbing and stuff. They're coming here to hit the beach, and I don't blame them. That's why I came here. I live 2 blocks from the beach. I walk on the beach for my exercise. I want that negative ion. I want to be on it, near it, with it, and I'm not leaving, even if in South Beach is pretty hectic and crazy. Let me tell you. But that 2 blocks is paradise for me. How do we
That's really,
expect how do we expect tourists not to want to come here and do that? But there is no respect for the environment here
that's really sad. I know we've all got to really do our best. But
to
you know,
pull sources together, and there's many ways of doing it. You and I are doing it right now, and there's always you got to find the positive, right? And
definitely.
it's very important because otherwise it's Debbie Downer time. Oh my God. No, no, no. No, otherwise it's actually seriously frightening. And that's your work. You know that. It's a
Right. You can't create from victim. Well, you can create, but what do you want? What are you going to create from victim isn't what you want. So
right. Right, right, right. What do you take with you? What's your legacy to yourself? Dr. Doug Lisle talks about the internal audience, and that's what I shoot to please is my internal audience. And if
Mm.
and if they're going, you know what, you're doing okay. Them doing that, if that audience is doing that to me, then I know I'm being true to my true self. I'm being true. I have to be authentic to myself at this point in my life. I really kind of sort of don't care what other people think, but I respect. You understand? Don't I'm not smug about this, but that's the point I got to.
Well, I understand. Yeah. And again, you're going back to your living alignment with your life. And that's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
And I see some comments, and Will Brian said, "Thanks for the info. Very interesting. I have to go back to work." And Peg is here. Hi, Peg. And someone is saying, "Love the ocean vibes. I live right on Pompano Beach." Yes, I
Oh,
wish I lived
yay.
there.
Yay, beautiful Pompano Beach. One of the healing tools that I used was I did a 10-day water fast with Dr. Frank Sabatino, and he's still my doc, okay? And we did this thank God, it was just before the pandemic hit. It was like November 2019. And because I was still having ovarian cyst spasms, and when that hits, it's horrific. And so, anyhow, I decided that I need something to really shake it all up. And I did that with him. And so he's in Deerfield Beach. And by the way, 1 week to the day when I came home from that fast is when I found out the uterine lining was no longer thick, that right ovarian cyst was officially gone, that the dense tissue on the left breast was out of here. So, there was significant improvements from that as well. But that whole Pompano Beach, Deerfield Beach area, if I don't know if that's Jeff Palmer or not, because I know he's from Pompano Beach, but it's a great area. It's a great area.
Yeah, they're
You know.
saying love Frank. So maybe it is Jeff. I don't know.
It's Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. You're awesome, buddy. Thanks so much. You want to learn about nutrition? Oh my God, that is the man to learn it from. You want to learn about bodybuilding as a whole food plant exclusive bodybuilder? That is the man to learn it from.
Jeff
And
Palmer.
he's 60. He's 60. He's got guns on him the size of yeah, yeah, that's a teeny tiny little thing. He's like 3 times the size, you know. But he's phenomenal. In fact, I'm going to plug him. He's on today on Facebook at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and he does a nutrition presentation. I don't know if it's weekly, bi-weekly, but he is brilliant. And I even take some of his product line too. So
Right.
he's a real deal. He's a
Well,
real
Jeff,
deal.
put your information in here so everybody will know. And hi,
That's
Kenneth.
it.
Kenneth, yeah, and Jeff's going to have to come on the show.
Yes, he is. That's
Definitely.
what I'm shooting for right now.
Definitely. He will. He will, definitely.
Wonderful. I mean, he's been on Kathleen Gage, and he's awesome. He's awesome.
Right. Yeah, I did catch his live stream the other day. Well, listen, I want to ask you about this because it's very
Please.
important. Addictions. I mean, the food, the stuff that's going into the food that we're unaware of. What can you speak on that? You know,
I'm not great about that. I'm not a scientist, and I don't know the names of the chemicals, but
well,
all
you
I
don't have
know, all I know that pesticides, herbicides, fungicides go into the food, injecting the food with, if you're doing animal product, they're certainly injecting that with growth hormones. There's no question. There's an awful lot of, I believe, for the animal community, a lot of genetically modified organisms, GMO food, right? So I don't even know what I call that stuff frankenfood.
yeah,
And it's a little peculiar, and particularly soy, wheat, and corn. And this is what we're feeding the animals and what people are ingesting. So this brings us back to those hormone and endocrine disruptors, right? Um, and there's also lots of antibiotics they're
oh
plugging
yeah,
into animal food. I mean, it's just, and as far as for me, because I'm living with these temporary things in here, the masses. Um, I have to have organic food. I only follow, I will have a few exceptions as per environmental working groups, clean 15, dirty dozen list, right? So for the clean 15, I'll trust some of what they say. But I'm not interested in getting fungicides, herbicides, and pesticides deep into my body. And is organic perfect? No, it's not, but it's a heck of a lot better than the other way. A heck of a lot better, right? So
That's
that's also why I continue on with my heat treatments and castor oil pack treatments and using no EMF sauna, no EMF heating pads. These things have no electric coils. The heating elements are jade discs or crushed tourmaline. Just if it's coming near my body, touching my body, it's going to be pure, it's going to be pristine. It just has to be finely sourced and grown, organic, as much as I humanly possibly can do.
definitely, and your body responds. I mean, our bodies want
Yeah,
to heal, right? Our bodies want to work for us, just like our brains do. So whatever we're putting into our brains, and our brains listening, if we're having that thought, then our brain's going to really, like, if I get up and say it's going to be a wonderful day, then we're going to make it, and we're going to start looking. Our brain's going to look to see that and make it happen, right? And whatever food we're putting into our body, our
that's right.
body that's
Oh,
going
that's
to.
right. Now for me, trigger foods for me may be not the same for somebody else who's an addict. Okay. Um, and when I say addict, I'm talking about completely resonating with Chuck Carroll's story. Chuck Carroll of the exam room from Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, right? And he was an over 400-pound man, and he would binge on over 10,000 calories at a setting. And I'm telling you, I did the same. I wasn't that weight. I didn't get to that weight yet, yet. Okay. But I mean, I remember one time I gained 12 pounds in 10 days. Wow is right. You don't do that at no 2,000 calories a day. You understand? Right. So I get that mentality. And as an addict, that's why when I found Chef AJ's Sofa's free, no soil, no salt, no oil, no flour, no alcohol, no sugar. Not that excludes fruit. Okay, totally
Yeah.
Beth. It totally excludes fruit. I love my fruit, um, but but those were my trigger foods anyhow. So following her advice on that for me was freedom. So everything in my home is just variations of a plant. That's it. And there's no processed crap and no like turn something over and it's got 12 items. Yeah, pretty much the most you're going to find if something's in a box, it's pre-cooked, salt-free organic beans that it says organic whatever beans and water. That's it. I'm not that's what I do. And because otherwise why would I put all this time and care into myself to then screw it up with what I put down myself? And
Yeah.
and I was thinking about this the other day, Mariquita, is that the cleaner the food, the purer the food, the more you get from that food, the more love, the more nutrients, phytonutrients. It just the list goes on and on. The vitamins, the minerals. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. And I don't do recipes and stuff. I just eat the food.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a good feeling because you don't have to look at all those ingredients. I got some peanuts the other day. I was driving. I thought, well, I'm starving. Let me just try to run
Mm,
and get some peanuts. And then I looked at the back and it was genetically modified. And I thought,
yeah,
and there were all sorts of lists. I mean, there are all sorts of
yeah,
ingredients on peanuts. I thought, what is going on here? And
exactly.
all these things they're adding to make it addictive, all these substances to get you addicted that they're putting into these foods, like layering them with fat, sugar, and
Yeah,
oil, all
yeah,
layer. And then we're like, why do we want it so badly? Because they know what they're doing to
Oh, yeah.
create those addiction.
And also to just preserve a shelf life so that, you can eat a Twinkie now and you can still eat it in 2050. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just around forever. And for me, the thing that I wanted to share with you, if I might, a little bit about my
Yeah,
work, that
definitely.
something amazing happened to me several months back was I've been a member of Chef AJ's private group called Feel Fabulous Over 40. I'm well over 40, but it was great. And so I wanted to sign on because I'm always looking for ways to be continually motivated, inspired for myself, but also can I learn something from my clients, my students, right? And she's got great guests on and just all the plant-based doctors is just like, oh, this is fabulous. Okay. And so I signed on and around this past Thanksgiving, I woke up. I'll share it with you. I was on a Friday contacting a bankruptcy attorney, and that Sunday morning, I wake up to an email from Tobias, who is the producer and owner of Better Life Summits, which is a basically a virtual production company. Well, he produces, along with Chef AJ, her summits, her online summits, and he's also a producer of Feel Fabulous Over 40. And he contacted me and said, um, we think you'd be a fit to maybe work with us and present some yoga and strength training videos for the platform. And I'm just like, 2 days ago, I sent an email to a bankruptcy attorney, and then I get that. And I'm going, and it's, I got hairs up coming up. I got, wow. Um, that it was like, this is my tribe. I have been with these people on all of her platforms and her Facebook lives, and we're in the live Zoomunity chat, and after you and I get off, I'll be doing that, and we have a blast, okay? But Mariquita, these are particularly the women who they have so many of these same medical challenges that I've had and have, and they're striving for hope outside of what is only known by one way of looking at it from an allopathic perspective. I'm not judging it. Okay, it is what it is. But there's a world vastly larger than that for choice. And when he presented this to me, I just went, this is perfect. And I said to them, please, I know this platform. I know these people. I see them every we meet with Chef AJ weekly in the Zoom chats privately, and I see them in the gallery, and I see people in wheelchairs, and I see people bedridden. And I said to them, we must include, I must have my work be inclusive of these people. We have to teach exercise. So if you're in a wheelchair, if you are bedridden, you can do something. And that's what we have up on that platform. I'm teaching without weights. I'm teaching with weights. I'm teaching with bands. So people who travel for work can go into a hotel room and just pull out some bands. I'm teaching chair yoga and I'm telling people who are, more advanced, and you get to do it this way, and it's important for them to be included. And by golly, that's the feedback I'm getting. I'm getting feedback from some of them saying, I have my 90-year-old mother in the chair doing your chair yoga. Do you know what that does for me? And I have 300-pound women doing exercise. All right. Because I'm not a fan of telling people you don't need to exercise while you're losing weight. You don't need to do that. I agree with Jeff on this. Why not bring him in right from the beginning? Because for me, it's about, hey, look what you get to control, and look what fun you get to discover within yourself. Because exercise is playtime, baby. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's serious, but it's playtime for that big kid inside of you. Let that kid out, and oh, it's playtime. That's why I love jumping on a rebounder. I gotta have my fun. So anyhow, imagine that. Imagine the timing of that offer.
Yeah,
It
that's
was just
amazing. The
They
universe has always got our backs. You
and
never know
God
what.
bless Chef AJ for that platform, okay? And God bless Chef AJ because if it weren't for her, I never would have found Dr. Frank Sabatino.
Mm.
It's an amazing world that we live in. It's amazing. Look at this connection. My connection with Jeff. I only know Jeff, what, 6 months, whatever. It's unbelievable what goes on and the love that transpires among our tribe and this community is not to be believed. How generous. Look at you. You provide a platform here. Jeff provides a platform free for us to come, chat, share our knowledge, and just give it away to people because this is how excited we are about this lifestyle. It's genuine. It's not crap. It's genuine.
Yes, it is. And I can feel your passion. I love it. We're very both in passion about things, about shifting your life, taking
That's right.
advantage, taking radical responsibility,
That's
right?
it. That's it. Because there's too many people out there telling us, You're getting old now. Don't worry. You don't need your body parts. Or, take it easy. Oh, no, you can't do that. Let somebody else do it for you." And I'm just like, I was. Oh, I was like, I was shopping at Costco one day and had this thing on. And a guy comes up and goes, "Oh, let me do it for you." But no. He said, he said, "But no. Thank you, though." And he looked at me, goes, "I got you." I said, "That's right." I said, "Because if you're not at home with me and I need to do this, what am I going to do then? I got to learn to do this on my own. I live alone. That's my reality. I'm not complaining about it. I designed it that way. However, it gets challenging when there are some limitations, right? But again, this is nothing in comparison with what I see my community dealing with.
Yes, that's very true. And I love it though. I love the way that you have a community, and that's what's so important,
Oh
when
my
we
God. Yeah.
come together. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I really talk about in my coaching is one of the big things. Isolation is blocking
Oh my God.
this
Yeah.
self-actualization, isolation. We've got to come into community, and there's no excuse. If we're stuck in our house, you can get online like we're doing, right? And
Right.
make
Right.
friends, get connections. If you don't have a meetup group, get out there and make a meetup group. If make one online,
Right.
make do it, be the change. Don't sit back and wait. Right. So
Right. I mean, that's what I do with my work. I'm meeting with my clients virtually, whether it be yoga, whether it be training. Yeah, I'll get back to the massage people. That's the other thing that I was told. Um, I went to like the top hand surgeon in Miami Beach. Her name is Dr. I'm going to say her name, Dr. Oulette, because my doctor clients were like, "You got to go see her." I'm like, okay. So I went to her for like a second, third opinion, right? And I said to her, two things I must achieve. I must get back to being able to do deep tissue massage. The geriatric massage is not that, obviously, okay? But I need to be strong to get to jump on that table whenever I want to and bear down into somebody who's 275 pounds, okay? And I'm not going to be able to do it weak wrist. And I told her the other thing is I don't want to get osteoporosis again. I worked too hard to reverse that. And she said, "You will get it again if you don't continue your weightlifting." So she works with the athletes for the NBA and the NFL. All right, and I said to her, I said to her, I was told I can't do the following couple of exercises by my own hand surgeon. All right, the one I actually hired. But it turns out she was his teacher. All right. So here we go. So I showed her what I want to do, but my cast at the time had like my thumb wasn't supported. All right. So she looked at my hand and I showed her the exercises I wanted to do. I had nothing in my hands, nothing on. And she goes, "Yeah, you can do those exercises provided you change that cast and you immobilize that thumb." She goes, "And then you tell him, my hand surgeon, if he gets angry, take it up with me." She says, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I love this woman." She goes, "You won't reverse. She goes, you will not bring back, I won't go back to being osteoporotic because when I got the scans of this wrist, it's still osteopenia." And my surgeon said, You hit in such an angle and such a way because it was a 1 inch difference in the level of the payment. And my thumb just like went right in there. And it was just like, wow. So he said anybody would have wound up like that. And the scans came back osteopenia. So I'm just like, okay, baby, because I'm not going backwards.
That's for sure. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, I said, thank you very much. I need that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at some.
Oh,
Um,
Amy, she showed up. I can't believe it. Thank you.
I love to listen to Angela. She's such a beautiful person, inside and out, and a great inspiration.
Oh,
Yes,
I love Amy. She's
yes,
such a supportive person and she is such a great inspiration to the rest of us as well. She just is emanates love and concern and care. And man, is she dedicated to our lifestyle. It's just so beautiful.
that's beautiful. Connections are everything.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I see we're getting short on time, and this has been amazing. But let me just finish up with what anything else you wanted to shot to let us know, and then to make sure to tell us where we can find you. You know, we want everyone to be
Okay.
able to connect, and everyone should connect if you
Thank you
have
so much.
connected. Please, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, love it. I just love it. So thank you. I just want to leave people with you have so much more power in your own hands about your own self-care. You must become an advocate for yourself, but you have to do the work, meaning you got to do some research, all right? And believe me, 34 years ago, it, there was no like, look, let's check it out online. No, it was none of that stuff. It's much more accessible now, and even if you don't have your own computer, what have you, go to a library. You can access it there. As far as how I can be reached, if you're interested in any of my services, you can contact me by the way of the contact form on my website, which is boomerandbeyondwellness.com. And I'll repeat it. That's boomerandbeyondwellness.com. And also, I'm on Facebook, but you can reach that by way of the website as well. I want to thank you so much, Mariquita, for this. I had a blast with you. Thank you. I didn't have any idea which way this was going to go today. I thank you so much.
well, that's the beauty of this journey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I really want. Yeah, we'll just go with the flow. I love it. So, yes, it was wonderful. And I want to shout out to your cats that I never really, the cats that have been inspirational to you.
My cats, yes, I'm on my 44th year of rescuing cats, and on my eighth cat who's living with me. His name is T, and it's because he was originally called Trouble by
Oh,
his first like owner. What I hate that word, like companion. All right, and
uh-huh.
well, I call him T for terrific, and he's great. I mean, he was feral, and I
Wow.
got him, and when I said I'm going to bring him in because I knew him for a year before I brought him in. My beautiful boy passed away during the pandemic, and I
Oh,
knew that I could not be without a feline in my life. I tried 2 nights. It was the first 2 nights in 44 years without a cat in my life. I had like anxiety attacks. I was like, not doing this. And I would see beautiful clients of mine were caring for him in their yard and feeding him, and he would just stay there all the time. And so I got to know him there. And so it was a year later, and right after Boy passed, I waited just a little bit, and then in came T, and
oh,
but I just let him do what he needed to do to get adjusted. And I knew that if he wouldn't be able to adapt, if he wasn't happy, if he was longing to go outside, that I would bring him back. And no, the guy is like the king of the castle. I got to race to the bed. You know what I mean? I got to race to the bed because he's like in the middle of the bed looking at me like, what do you want? You want me to move? I'm not moving. you know, I adore him. And every one of my animals, the first one was a dog, and every one of them left a profound visceral effect on my body, on my soul, on my life. And they just are with me. They are my family. They are my companions. They are my friends. They are my loved ones. How the heck could I eat them?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. That's a great way to end, right? With this warm love for all animals and just, I mean, that honoring and gratitude.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you. This has been lovely. And thanks everybody for watching. And definitely reach out to Angela if you're watching the replay.
Hmm.
If you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll be checking back because we're here to inspire you to move forward. We think you're beautiful and you're
That's
powerful.
right. That's right.
We're standing behind you.
That's
All
right.
right. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Love you all.
Thank you,
Bye.
Margarita.